ahead and Colton's going to explain how he did the bell ringer. Make sure you speak kind of loud and tell them exactly what you did, because those on watching the video cannot see what's written on the board. All right, go ahead.
I added 40 and 20 and got 60. So I switched those two because they're vertical, and I did 60 minus 39 and got 21.
Okay. So you said you added 40 plus 20 and got 60.
Yeah. And then that's the vertical thing. So
Okay.
60 minus 39 and I got 21.
All right, awesome. Kyle, tell us, do you agree or disagree?
I agree with the answer, but I did it a different way.
Hey, how did you do it?
Well, I added 20 plus 40 equals 60, and then I subtracted 60 from 180, got 120.
Okay, what does that 120 give you?
The top of the triangle.
Okay, so will you label that 120 degrees, that angle, where you labeled it 60, that would actually be 120. And the one right underneath that also would also be 120. Okay, now what did you do?
I added 39 to 120 and got 159, and then I subtracted that from 180 and got 21.
All right, so y'all got the same answer, but you just went about it a different way. Okay. All right, yeah, so the correct answer is 21. Okay. After you get that written down, Colton, you can have a seat, and I'm going to show you why your method works.
So can you do Colton's?
Okay, so Colton's was pretty much correct. He did 40 plus 20 is 60. So that means that this one here is 120, and this one would also be 120. So if since these two are congruent, these two are going to have to add up to be the same amount that these two add up to be. So these two add up 40 plus 20, these two add up to be 60. So these two are also going to have to add up to be 60 because they share, a common measure of an angle. So since these have to add up to be 60, then you can just do 60 minus 39 and get 21. So like for instance, let's say I had this, and let's say this was 30 and this was 50, and this is 20. I don't know what these two are yet, but these two add up to be what? 80. So that means these two are going to have to add up to be 80. So if this one's 20, what's this one over here going to be? 60. And if you actually work it out, 30 plus 50 is 80. 180 minus 100 is 80. So this one's 80. 80 plus, 100. 50 plus 30 is 80. 180 minus 80 is 100. That's what I get for trying to do it too quickly. So this one's 100. 100 plus 20 is 120. 180 minus 120 is 60. Okay. So, yes, that method does work. The only thing that he had done incorrectly was labeled these two as 60 degrees, and that's the only thing that was wrong. They were actually 120. All right, good job. I like seeing the different methods of figuring it out in geometry. That's a good thing and a bad thing in geometry is that a lot of times there's not just one way. Whereas in algebra, solving an equation, there's one simple answer. Geometry, not so likely all the time the same answer. What questions do you have for us on the bell ringer? All right, you can put your bell ringer away. You need to get your notes out. I also need any AMI work that you need to turn in, whether it be your bell ringer from the last week, your 6.1 puzzle time worksheet, your 6.1 practice corrections, any of your Boom learning work that you did, get that out. Make sure your name's on it. Pass it to the front row, pass it to the right. And then get out your notes from yesterday so that way we can get those finished.
Hey, Dylan,
Yes, sir.
did you already post something on Big Headed Method today, or did I just, was that from a while ago?
It's locked in between.
I don't know where I do my corrections. And I didn't know.
Remember, you gotta turn it in at the beginning of class. You'll need to get a message, time at the end of school today, and then you'll have to serve tomorrow after school for having your phone.
Alright.
Alright, so we are picking up where we left off yesterday. Yesterday, we were in the process of talking about congruent polygons. And congruent polygons have all corresponding angles and sides congruent. Okay, so all angles are congruent, all sides are congruent. And then we went through and listed all of the corresponding parts and writing congruent statements. And then we went as far as to show that two triangles are congruent. Okay, so to show that two triangles are congruent, you have to actually go through and show that every single corresponding side is congruent and every single corresponding angle is congruent. But I don't have you state down like the obvious, like the stuff that's already given to you. Like I wouldn't have you say PS is congruent to QR because it's given. Okay, but we don't do that. You just have to go through and figure out the stuff that's congruent that's not marked. So for instance, here, whenever you're dealing with angles, the two types of things you want to look for are vertical angles and alternate interior angles. Vertical angles are right across from each other and are always congruent. And then whenever you have parallel lines, you have alternate interior angles that are congruent. And then you also have third angle theorem. If two angles are congruent, the third angle is automatically congruent. And then the side we talked about is on this one here. We did dB was congruent to dB by reflexive property, correct? We talked about reflexive property. Is that on your notes? Okay. So anytime they share a side, anytime you say a side's congruent to itself, it's reflexive property. All right, so let's do this one together. It says in the diagram, show that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle CBA. So first we need to show that all the angles are congruent. Okay. All right, so first it says angle A and C, and it goes ADC, CBA. So this angle A up here and this angle C down here, we need to show are congruent. But they're already marked congruent, so I don't have to do that. Now I've got to show that D and B are congruent. So I need to show that this angle here is congruent to this angle here. Somehow angle D has to be congruent to angle B. I don't see any parallel lines, so I won't be able to use alternate interior angles, and they're not across from each other, so they can't be vertical. So is there something else that would make them congruent? Let's see what else is marked. They have A and C marked here, like angle DAC and angle BCA is marked. They also have angle DCA and BAC marked congruent. So they got two sets of angles marked congruent. Is there anything saying that the third angle set is congruent? What would you say? Yeah, by third angle theorem. They're congruent by third angle theorem. If you look back on the front page of your notes from yesterday, it says if two sets of angles are congruent, then the third angles are going to be congruent. So that's the third angles theorem. So you would say by third angles theorem. Okay. Now you've got to show that all the sides are congruent. Well, AD and BC are already marked. AB and DC are already marked. So we need to figure out what's the third side of triangle ABC. Well, here's AB, DC. That's side AC on the first triangle. And I have to show that it's congruent to the third side of the other triangle, which is AC. Am I allowed to say that segment AC is congruent to segment AC?
Yeah.
Why? Say that again.
I didn't say that.
What allows me to say that something's congruent to itself? Yeah, reflexive property. Anytime you say something's congruent to itself, it's reflexive property. And now I have the third set of sides congruent. So now both triangles are congruent to each other. Okay. What questions do you have for me? All right, it says find the measure of angle P. There's a couple different ways you can go about finding the measure of angle P. First thing I notice is that both of these are right triangles because this has the square in it, so that means angle C here is a 90-degree angle, and that also means Q over here is a 90-degree angle. And then I notice that angle A and angle R are marked congruent to each other, and A is 52 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead over here and mark R 52 degrees. And now it wants me to find the measure of angle P. Well, I know back from section 8 or 6.1 that all three interior angles have to add up to 180. So I would do 90 plus 52, and that adds up to 142. And so that means I need a certain amount more to equal 180. So to figure out that certain amount more, I do 180 minus 142. And 180 minus 142, I believe, is 38 degrees. So the measure of angle P is 38 degrees. Now my next question. What if they were to ask me about angle B? Would I have to go through and do all the math again? Why not? How do you know? How do you know that this this angle B is going to be the same as angle P?
Third angle theorem.
By the third angle theorem, they're going to be congruent. So angle B would also have to be 38 degrees. So you wouldn't actually have to do any math. You've already done the math. Okay. All right, let's try one together. And you're going to have to fill in the missing part. I whited out one of the angles. I believe it's the 45-degree angle. So if I could get you to mark angle A 45 degrees. Okay. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can go about doing this. One of the things I notice is that you can make this look like 1, 2, 3 different triangles. You see the 3 different triangles in the picture? You can also just make it into 2 big triangles. You've got this big triangle, ACD, and you've also got the big triangle, BCD. Okay, so you got those 2 big overlapping triangles. And it's wanting us to find the measure of angle BDC. So you need to figure out what angle is angle BDC. Angle BDC. Ellie, what angle would angle BDC be? Say that again. Which angle is angle BDC? Like what angle am I trying to find the measure of? You said this top one here? Okay, if you follow the path of angle BDC, that means you start at B, point B, and then you follow down to D, and then you go over to C. So what angle did I just outline there? The letter in the middle is your vertex. That tells you the angle. So you're not looking for angle B. This would be angle B. That would be angle DBC. You're actually looking for angle D, which is this entire angle there. So that's angle BDC. Okay? So I know part of it's 30. I've got to go about finding this other part. And like I mentioned before, there's quite a few different ways you can go about figuring it out. I'm gonna show you both ways, and then you tell me which method you like better, okay? One thing I noticed is that this one is 30 degrees, and this one's marked congruent to this angle over here. So if this one's 30, Ben, what's this angle down here gonna be? It's also gonna be 30. So I would mark it 30 degrees. Okay. Now I noticed that there's a triangle inside here. So Aiden, what did these three interior angles have to add up to be?
180.
It has to add up to 180. All right, so they all three have to add up to 180. So I need to see what these two add up to. Braxton, what do these two angles add up to? 60. So what's this one up here going to have to be in order for them to add up to 180?
Like, would it be 60? Or would you have to do?
Well, they all three have to add up to 180. So if you did 60 plus 30 plus 30, that would only give you 120. It would give you 180.
Like, so you want me to do 180 minus 60?
Is that how you would figure out the missing angle?
It would be 120?
Okay, well, let's try it out. They all three have to add up to 180. So what's 120 plus 30 plus 30?
Oh, yeah, it's 120.
Yeah, 120. So that gives you 180. Now, something else I've noticed is that these two angles are marked congruent. Angles A and B are marked congruent. Gabby, what's going to be the measure of angle B?
45.
Perfect. So I have one angle in that triangle. Now I need to figure out this angle. What do you notice about these two angles here? What do they make, Kyle?
180 degrees.
Yeah, they make 180. So if this side's 120, what's this side over here going to be?
60.
60. Okay? So now I know angle B is 45. I know this angle is 60. Now I got to figure out this angle down here. All right, John, how would I figure out this angle here of this triangle?
You have to add 60 to 45.
And what's that give me, 105? Then what do I do? Is that the measure?
You have to subtract 105 to 180 and
What does that give you?
75.
75. Okay, so now I went through that piece, and now I found this piece here is 75. Well, if this piece is 75 and this piece is 30, okay, then how am I going to figure out the measure of the whole entire angle?
You had them all together, so 45. So look, 160 and 180. 60. I know,
Okay, so I'm trying to find the measure of this whole entire angle
Oh,
right here.
Yeah.
This part's 30 and this part's 75.
Yeah, you have to get,
You add them together. You add 30 plus 75, and what's 30 plus 75?
uh, 105.
And so the measure of angle BDC is 105 degrees. Okay. Now, let me show you what I would have done to solve this. I saw right away that this was two overlapping triangles. So I'm going to redraw the picture, but without the two triangles overlapping. So first I'm going to draw triangle ACD. So here's from C to D, and then A. And this angle down here is 30 degrees. And this angle here is 45 degrees. Okay, so here's A, C, D. And I don't know what this angle is yet. That's this entire angle here. Okay, now I see this other triangle. This is BDC. And B is marked congruent to A, so I know it's 45 degrees. And then this angle down here, C, is marked congruent to D, which is 30 degrees. Okay, now, I'm looking for BDC, which is that big angle, which is this angle here, which is really this angle here. Okay, all right, Alright, so Braxton, looking at my picture, I have triangle BDC. B's 45, C's 30. Can I figure out this angle down here?
Yes.
Yeah, how do you figure out the missing angle of a triangle if you know the other two?
You subtract them. No, you add them. You add them together.
What do you get when you add 45 plus 30?
75. And then you do that minus 80. Mine meant 180, sorry.
180 minus 75, what's 180 minus 75?
105.
There
And
you go.
that's your answer.
That's what I would have done. However, some people can't see the like two overlapping triangles. So they pick it apart like we did the first time. Me personally, I would have done this. Just because I knew this angle, that angle, and they wanted the whole entire angle. I just needed that one more angle of that triangle. Okay. So two completely different ways. One way was more work, but another way, it could be hard to visualize it. Okay. Up to you, whichever one you want to do, whichever one you do, you gotta show your work.
Big ideas, man.
Alright, let's do the next one. Notice I whited out that one angle, so you need to fill that in at 68 degrees. And you need to find the measure of angle DCN. So you got to figure out which angle is angle DCN and then find the measure of that angle. Alright, this one's guided practice, so go ahead, turn your desk to face your partner and work it out with your partner.
Oh, I'm tired. It's supposed to be 70 at 3 o'clock. 70 degrees.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. It's supposed to snow. No, Friday. Sunday. Makes no freaking sense. It's short smile with a tank top. It says sun's out, sun's out.
Alright, let's be working on this problem. Make sure you explain to your partner your thought process, please.
Easy videos.
What do you think about my thunder in the specs class? You remember when we were playing stuff in the specs class? That's pretty funny, wasn't it? I was kinda like, actually it was. It was funny. You started talking and then you just played big old loud thing and thunder.
I did it.
That is freaking funny. And she's like, whispering under her breath. I heard her. She's not very quiet. What are we gonna have a quiz over this?
You have a quiz on Friday that covers 6.1 and 6.2.
Oh. We had big ideas yesterday. Yeah. Then what's that thing posted? Is that for tomorrow or something?
It's for Thursday. It's for Thursday. It'll post it. It's the big ideas assignment is your homework assignment for Thursday. Alright, so if I can have your attention, please.
I'll do it.
Whenever you can stay with your partner because y'all are going to do that one together. Alright, so whenever you explain it to us, please explain to us your entire thought process that you and your partner went through to find the measure of angle DCN. So my first question is, which angle is DCN, Rayleigh? Which angle are they asking us to find? Like, which angle did we have to find? Like, it's telling us to find the measure of angle DCN. Well, which angle is DCN? Okay, the way to know the vertex is in the middle. So what letter's in the middle? Okay, so that means that's where the angle's at. Okay, so where's C at? Where do you see a letter C in this picture? Right here. And where's the angle at that's by C?
I guess,
This angle here? No, that would be angle D. We're looking for angle C. Where's angle C? That's angle D. See how there's a D beside it? That's angle D. You're looking for an angle that has a C beside it.
I don't know, just the way like you word it confuses me.
John, where's angle C? Yeah, it's right beside C. It's right beside the letter C. Just a second. Right. I think it's not wanting to work. Angle C is right here beside the letter C.
Yeah.
Alright, there we should not be talking. We should be paying attention. Alright, so you're looking for this angle right here beside C. The way to know which angle, the C is in the middle, so that's your vertex. That's your angle. Now, if it would have been DNC, then N has two angles there. Well, actually, it has like 8. But N has two angles, so you would have had to pay attention to, would it be RNS or DNC? If it was RNS, it would be this angle. DNC would be this angle. All right, so now that we know we're talking about this angle here, we're trying to find the measure of that angle. Ellie, explain to me the thought process that you and your partners took to find the measure of this angle.
So, I just went like S and D or congruent, so I put D as 68. And then I did 68 plus 75, and then got 143, and then 180 minus 143, and got 77, or 37. So I put 37 as N. And then 68 plus 37 is 105. And then 180 minus 105 is 75,
So this one here is 37, therefore this one's 37. And then you said you did 68 plus 37, which is 105. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And then you did 180 minus 105
and got 75.
and got 75.
Huh.
Okay, does everyone else agree with that?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh,
Okay, 75 degrees.
yeah, I did that. I need to work it out to get 75.
How did you do it?
I just put
What's
that
over there?
75
Is it 75?
Okay, but how did you know that angle R and angle C were congruent?
Just got that little line in here.
No, that means the sides are congruent, not the angles.
Oh, well, I guess I just got lucky.
Okay, now you could have used this thought process. You could have said that since these are vertical angles, that this angle here is congruent to this angle here. You didn't actually have to find it, you just had to say they were congruent because they're vertical. Well, if these two angles are congruent and these two are congruent, what theorem lets us say that the third angles are congruent?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
The third angles theorem. So now using third angles theorem, now you can say that this is 75, but only after you have shown that the other two angles are congruent, which makes the third one congruent. You can't just automatically say, oh, these are congruent, because let me draw this picture here that looks just like that almost. And this angle, or this side and this side are congruent. Would you say that this angle and this angle are congruent?
Nope.
No, they don't even look, they're not even the same, like you can tell, you can look at it and tell they're not. The sides are, but the angles are not necessarily congruent just because the sides are congruent. Alright, I'm going to draw a picture and you are going to copy that picture down. And then you and your partner are going to work it out.
You need a simple one. Simple, man.
And then make sure that you explain to your partner how to do it, because if your partner's called on, they're gonna wanna be able to explain how we got the answer. Okay, so you need to draw this picture.
Yeah, answer that. $35, 33.
Yep. Alright. You and your partner need to find the measure of angle 1, which is this angle right here.
And, okay, so those squares are 90 degrees, correct? Good job. Okay, so that's 90. That's 90. And I'm lost.
Alright, so even if you're not completely sure, but you notice something, even if you notice that, hey, I know this angle's congruent to this one, so it's this, or I know that this one's 90 degrees, or I know this. Tell your partner, because, and then the partner will tell you what they know.
There's no way I got 55.
Now, this mark is not saying that these three angles are congruent. This is just labeling that angle. It's wanting you to find the measure of angle 1.
How did I get 55?
There.
Is that a 33 or 35? 35.
30. It's a 33. It's 33, sorry. Alright, like I said, make sure to tell your partner what you're thinking.
Triangle 57, 57. I knew this one.
ABC.
Had to add to be 90 subtracted by 57.
This class is the fastest class I feel like.
This was 90 degrees. And then I knew that these had to be added to 90 degrees. 90 minus 57, I got 33.
Sorry.
Alright, if we could have your attention, please. Kyle, explain to me yours and your partner's thought process on how y'all figured out the measure of angle 1.
Alright, I took the 33 over because it was both one line. And then I basically took the ABC, a triangle out.
Okay, so he's saying he took this left triangle out because it's a right triangle. This one's 33. This is A, B, C, okay?
And I knew it was a right angle, so it's 90 degrees. So I added the 33 plus 90 together and got 123. And then I subtracted 123 by 180 and got 57.
So this angle's 57. So in my picture, this angle right here is 57 degrees, okay?
And then I knew that they both had to add up to 90, so I took 90 minus 57, and that got me 33, so 1 is 33.
Okay. Very good. Was there anyone else that was able to figure out that this angle is 33, but using a different method?
Nope. We did it.
Now, let me show you what someone did first hour. Someone in first hour realized that AB and DC were parallel. The reason why they're parallel is because they're both perpendicular to the same line. It's like you have the floor, and the floor is perpendicular to this side of the door frame, and it's perpendicular to this side of the door frame. So the door frames are parallel. Would y'all agree that those two door frames are parallel, the ones going up and down? So that means these are parallel, okay? This angle and this angle are alternate interior angles. So they didn't have to do any math whatsoever. They knew that this angle and this angle were congruent because they're alternate interior angles, and knew right away that it was 33 degrees. Because they knew that these two would be parallel since they were perpendicular to the same line. All right, very good. Let's do another one.
But on a big picture, so it's the last one. If we do it good, here guys, if we do it good, it's the last one. Said it.
Find the measure of angle 1.
What's that measurement up to the corner?
80. This one here? Yeah, 80.
Yeah, 80. Is that 54?
Yes.
Alright.
Yeah, orange is hard to see. I
Especially I don't got my glasses. It's my
need
truck.
to put this
Yeah,
away.
it's in his truck.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at
Check this out.
Are you an ex?
That's a good question. Are they?
Yes.
Why?
When I did it.
All right, Braxton, explain to me yours and your partner's thought process.
I took 80, got 80 plus 54, and I got 134, and then I took 180 minus 134, and I got 46, and then.
So what does that 46 give me?
U, and then U and, what's that one down there, X are congruent, so that means that one's 46 also. Yeah,
Hey, what kind of angles are those, Braxton?
vertical.
No.
Yeah,
No, these would be vertical.
alternate X and.
Only if the lines were parallel. They could be parallel, but we don't know for sure.
Are they all on the exterior?
Well, they're alternate interior.
Oh.
I did it.
Alright, turn your desk around, but don't put your stuff out.
Oh, I did it good.
Those notes, I believe, are they page 29?
I have no idea. Yeah, you told us 29.
Alright, so you need to fill out your table of contents, and you need to put those in your notes on page 29, and then I'm gonna pass back some papers. One of the things I'm passing back is your chapter 6 vocab. Remember, your chapter 6 vocab needs to go in your binder. I wanna say it's page 25 or 26. Can't remember exactly which one, but these should go in your binder, the chapter 6 vocab.
Go, baby.
Yeah,
Can
they're
we give this to
26.
Braxton, please?
Well,
Page 28 are the notes that you took while doing AMI.
Well, I get from these, I'm just gonna write.
You said the back window. My brother got his shot out once. Yeah, you know the bridge of tape that goes over to. Yeah, he went over there.
We don't know that you
That's what
Colton.
say that. You know, we was leaving so much out of that window out. Not anymore.
Wait, like 2 days ago. Wait, Justin son?
I see him every single day.
Pass that back to Black.
She said,
Every single day.
at TNT,
Yeah, I talk to him every day.
Wait, Justin?
I think.
He doesn't have kids like 2 grades.
Yeah.
He goes to the work.
Alright, your vocab needs to go on your binder as well. You need to number your vocab. Put it in your binder. I wanna say it's either page 25 or 26. I also got your 6.1 puzzle time worksheet graded. You need to read over that because you're gonna have a quiz over this on, Friday. It'll be over 6.1 and 6.2.
Can we talk about calculators though?
Not yet. Not till I'm finished passing out all the papers.
Man, we're all there.
Do you know when the test is over here?
I have the test graded. I've just gotta put them in the actual computer. It'll be soon. As soon as I get a chance to start putting in my grades. I'm leaving today at 2:30. I can see if Miss Pepper will let you do it. You'll just have to do it during 8 hours and have it completed in 8 hours. And whatever you leave at 8 hours, we'll just have to be your grade. So you would wanna go at the very beginning. But I'll ask her to make sure it's okay. But she should not have a problem with it. It's okay, but yes. Alright, you can put up your calculators and get your phones. Alright, enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, Miss Goodman.
That must be nice.
It's like $60.
No, I have used it, $100